Well, joining us to talk about Apple and Facebook, Lou Basenese, founder and chief analyst with Disruptive Tech Research. Good morning, Lou.
Good morning.
Let's talk about Apple. Reported rising profits and revenues, well, the tepid iPhone demand. Some people are just waiting for the next one, right? I mean, are you a lover of Apple?
Absolutely. I think some reporters apparently have the flair for the melodramatic. They tried to say that this earnings report casted a big shadow over the market, and I just think that's silly. This was really, the last time we were on, we talked about it. It's all about the iPhone refresh at the end of the year, the next big product, and the stage is set for them to do that. I mean, yes, China was weak, but that should have been expected. This is the 5th consecutive quarter of downturn in China for Apple. So this really isn't, it's a continuation of that trend. I think two really important bright spots from this report, and that, you mentioned it in the lead-in, is average selling prices were up. That means consumers are opting for the most expensive iPhones, which really bodes well going into the end of the year because Apple's supposed to release a phone that's going to cost possibly over $1,000. And then the other bright spot is the gross margins. The profitability actually ticked a little bit higher, and that is surprising because components in iPhones, the costs are skyrocketing. Some memory components are up 30%. So Apple's able to offer the latest and greatest and not sacrifice margins. So two really important things heading into the end of the year as they release the new phones.
Lou, I want to talk about Apple's cash on hand, almost $257 billion. What are they going to do with that? We've heard rumors that maybe they would buy a company like Netflix, Tesla, Disney. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are shareholders are having their Jerry Maguire moment. Show me the money, Tim Cook. You've got to do something. $256 billion is an absurd amount of cash. It's almost hard to contextualize. So, look, the management is placating investors right now. They boosted the buyback program. They increased the dividend. They do to make an acquisition and break rank with their history of, Apple doesn't make big acquisitions. Beats was a big one for them at $3 billion. But here's the problem. I don't think Apple's going to do anything until Washington gets off its duff and passes tax reform. So that money is going to be parked overseas until our elected officials can move swiftly. And I don't think many people have faith in that happening anytime soon. So again, I think this is going to be a continued tension with investors and management. Hey, do something with that cash, that cash pile, and satisfy us. Otherwise, they might move on.
Show me the money.
Lou Basenese, founder and chief analyst with Disruptive Tech Research. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Joining us now to talk about Facebook is Lou Basenese, founder and chief analyst with Disruptive Tech Research. We talked about Apple earlier, so let's dig into Facebook now, Lou. Good to see you again. We're expecting Facebook earnings after the close today. The stock keeps hitting new record highs. The company has warned that this explosive revenue growth, it's got to slow at some point. Is that a concern for you, or is that a sign of Facebook being a mature company?
It's not a concern. I mean, I wish Mark Zuckerberg would get on the call and open it by saying anything Snapchat can do, we can do better, and then drop the mic and move on, because I really think that's what's key. I mean, they're cloning any new growth initiative Snapchat introduces very quickly. Realistically, he's not going to do that. They are going to demonstrate that the revenue is growing at about a 45% clip on the top line and then the bottom line as well. And look, there's a lot of room for that revenue growth to decelerate and still be a compelling investment. I mean, you had Twitter, another social media platform that had declining revenue. Right. So relative to the competitors, which I really don't think there are any true competitors to Facebook, the company's still doing phenomenally well in terms of growth. So it's not a concern.
How much upside do you think the company has? I mean, you're saying that it doesn't really have competition, and also the stock closed at 152 and change at a record. So what do you think? I mean, how much upside potential is there for a company like this?
I think there's still more upside because Facebook has learned early on that you have to keep innovating in social media to keep engagement high. So they're making acquisitions. That's a form of innovation for them with WhatsApp and Instagram. That's allowing them to keep the users engaged, which is the key to serving up ads. You have to have people spending time on the platform so that you can keep monetizing that audience. And they've done it, much better than anyone else. I mean, much better than Twitter.
What about the violent content that we have seen on Facebook? How are they addressing that?
I think they need to do more. The party line is going to be, hey, it's really hard, it's really difficult. I don't buy that. I mean, we're living in an age in technology where we have self-driving cars. We're going to have flying cars soon. There's artificial intelligence, and you're telling me we can't figure out how to keep violent content off of a platform? They just have to do more. It's, social media is a tool. and it can be leveraged by good and evil doers. And they've got to do their part to make sure that people using live streaming are using it in a responsible way. They can't slough off that responsibility.
Would you say now is the time to invest in tech, even though it's run up so high?
Look, I think absolutely. I'm biased. I mean, I focus on tech, but here's the thing that I would point out to everyday investors. Technology is part of our everyday life more so than ever before. You're seeing it, in any aspect from healthcare to media consumption. So yeah, I think the long-term trend is you got to be invested long-term in technology.
Yeah, and 27 record highs this year for the NASDAQ. Lou Basenese, founder and chief analyst with Disruptive Tech Research. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Always a pleasure.